But we can trust the region that
but we're the
defies the
ones that
second
don't
law
have
of
an open mind,
thermodynamics,
right?
can we? So we should just ignore all of our objections and trust that you can defy the second law of thermodynamics in this region no one's going to. You've not been there. You saying you've compared what the Himawari does, you haven't. You haven't been there. You don't know that space is real. You haven't got the vaguest clue. It defies the second law of thermodynamics, but you'll defend it to the hilt, or at this stage, just completely ignore that objection and move on to the pictures anyway, and start picking them apart, even though they can't possibly be real.
Well, let's address that that you think space violates the second law of thermodynamics.
Oh, really? What, like we've been trying to do for the last 50 minutes?
Well, yes, it does violate the law of nature that is the second law of thermodynamics. It's a law because it has never been proven wrong. Ever. Hence, it's a law. Hot flows to cold, high pressure to low pressure, always and forever.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no worries. You can't have gas pressure without a container. The gas that we all breathe needs something to press on. It's pressure. That's what defines it. So at the top, Wiggles, of your belief in a vacuum, what's the gas pressure pressing on?
It's not pressing on anything.
Well, then it can't be here. It would dissipate into the vacuum. The gas would fill the space, Wiggles 2019. If it's not pressing on anything, it's going to disperse, Wiggles.
Okay, yeah, so for clarity, Nathan, I'm going to now entertain the idea that you are saying.
It's not my idea that I am saying. It is. This is probably the 6th time I've said this on this show. This is not my idea. It does not need entertaining. It is a law of nature. Not my idea.
But Nathan, don't you think like all these professors would have picked up on this if there were a contradiction there? Don't you think all these professors who study the thermodynamics, entropy, wouldn't they have picked up on this?
They did. I've got a video out from an MIT professor that explains that if you have gas pressure next to a vacuum and you don't have a barrier, the gas fills the space.
And so I do happen to have said MIT lecture, so let's watch together so we can verify what this professor is saying.
All right, let's try another pretty simple process. Let's just take a gas in some volume, V, and over here is going to be vacuum of equal volume, and we're going to remove the barrier. You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available.
So it seems they do know this, Wiggles. It's a law. A natural law. Not my idea. Not something that needs entertaining. A natural law. The gas would fill the space.
Yeah, wouldn't all these professors realize that?
Yeah, they do! Are you deaf?
Modern science?
Are you deaf? There's plenty of lectures on the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah, if the second law of thermodynamics implied space doesn't exist.
It does. That's precisely what it implies.
It implies space does exist?
No. That if you have a vacuum, a vast space, then the gas would fill that space. Unless, of course, there's something to press upon. There isn't, so we can't have space. That's the point. Well done, Wiggles. That's exactly what it implies. That natural law. Not my opinion, not what I think. That natural law that holds true always. That natural law would suggest that space is fake. So, do you have something that contravenes that law beyond your religious belief of space? Or is that your only proof that you can defy this natural law, your religious belief in space?
Okay, so Nathan, if the second law...
Seems like you're asking me a question. Do you have any proof beyond your religious belief about what Earth is and what space is that defies this natural law that holds true always?
Nathan, it's like you're stuck here. You can't get past where you're like stumbling over your own belief.
Oh wow. So Nathan is stumbling over his own belief? Have you ever heard of projection? It is not flat earthers who are stumbling on their own beliefs. It is those who claim space is real, despite the evidence against it. It's those who cannot shed the chains of public indoctrination. They are the ones stumbling over their beliefs, because their beliefs cannot stand up to the scrutiny of real science. Science that follows the scientific method and not the worldview of some men who use math and antiquated axioms and unproven theories to sell the world on the fantasy that is planets and galaxies and an endless vacuum where all these places exist. Alright, let's lay this out in a few diagrams to explain it. But first, we may need to spin the MIT chalkboard so that people better understand the second law of thermodynamics. And so now we will have the gas pressure at the ground level and the vacuum on top of it. We can watch, but the same holds true.
Take a gas in some volume, V, and over here is going to be vacuum of equal volume, and we're going to remove the barrier. You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available.
Now, globe proponents